Interesting price action this week on the dollar from last week heading lower, and we've also got indices heading higher. But is it the right time to sell the dollar? That's what we'll be discussing this week in this video. And we've got our shortlist to the right hand side here for the pairs this week. Okay, my name is Dima. Thank you very much for joining me. Another weekly analysis market outlook for this week. As always, we're going to go through the charts and look at the high probability zones, areas, opportunities, scenarios, setups, whatever word you want to use, and see where the market is likely to give us the potential for trade opportunities. Right, as we begin, let's zoom out. Let's look first of all at the calendar as usual, see what we've got for this week. And let's look at what this week is like. Let's begin with today. We've got Monday. We have pound news and Aussie news, both speeches from the central banks there. Unusual to have that news on Monday, but so it is. We've got that. We've also got tomorrow more Aussie news and pound news, and we've got CAD CPI. That'll be a major one to watch for. And then also on Tuesday, Euro news speech, and the big one for the week, FOMC. Want to watch out for that. And what else is there on the Wednesday? Again, Aussie news. We're getting heavy on Aussie this week. Again, Euro news. We've got some dollar news as well. Speech there on CAD. So we've got Aussie. We've got CAD featuring several times. What else have we got? On Thursday, holiday on the yen, some Euro news, pound news once again featuring, and on Friday, again, Euro and CAD news, more minor news, a little bit of dollar. What have we got? What's the pattern here? Well, we have CAD, a big one, the dollar news, a big one, the FOMC, want to watch out for that. Pound news is featuring several times, and a bit of Euro as well. What do we have this week? We have Euro news, we have the dollar, we have the pound in the shape of Euro pound, and also pound Swiss. We've also got Aussie and CAD. There's an Aussie CAD here and Aussie New Zealand. So really news across the board. It should prove interesting. Let's see how the market develops, and let's get into the technical analysis and what we've got going on, how we're going to look at the charts for this week. Click the like button if you like this video, if you want to receive the notifications for this week, for all the videos this week onwards, to keep up to date with the market as we analyze it, as we move through it. Let's begin with the dollar as we always do. And this week it's an interesting one to look at because we have more downside, more, if you like, confirmation, more momentum showing us where the market is likely heading. We were on the uptrend. Now that we have broken lower, the probability is now shifting a little bit to the downside. However, the question is, do we want to look at it? First of all, let's remove the previous markings. We're no longer interested in the upside. We are now looking at the weekly. And the weekly was bearish. Now we can see a level down here. That is the next target for the dollar. Let's just remove these lines for now. And the invalidation point becomes the last swing high, which is up here. Let's call that invalidation. Remove the previous notes. We no longer need that. So now I'm looking at the downside potential on the dollar. Here is the first target. Then we will have the next one down, and so on. That's a little bit further away. Let's have a look on the daily. We have this initial target here. And what do we want to do when we have an initial target? Well, of course, we want to have a better price. And the better price is obviously up here. With the price being up here at a higher point and a more expensive price, then we really want to see market pull back into the area first and then begin to reverse for us to consider it. At the moment, we are heavily cheap. And what does that tell us? Well, if we reach the low here, then we want to see a turnaround. And in fact, the opposite will be the case. If we first reach here, we want to see it come back into the higher price. So that is the idea on the dollar. We've got both directions. We'll stay flexible and look at a possible reversal and also a continuation at the same time. So keeping that in mind on the dollar, overall bearish. However, we want to consider the fact that it may be a turnaround after the sell-off. So these points, these significant areas, are usually turning points for the market. Okay, let's begin with the actual charts that we're going to look to trade. And starting with the euro, the big one, it is the reverse of the dollar. You can reverse the chart if you like, but what we can see is a similar picture. So we've got our major high up here, which we're now reaching into right here. We're now reaching into that. Let's now delete our previous markings. No longer need these, all these. What do we want? Well, of course, we want a better price, which will be somewhere in here. The invalidation would then be this low. And again, we're just going to do the reverse of the dollar, which is heading lower. And then we want to see a continuation higher. That's what's going to happen. However, we're going to consider the opposite, which will be a break through this level. And if we do not close above, if we reverse off this level, then we want to see some kind of reversal. That is also a possible idea. We're going to remain flexible on this one. However, it's of course also the case that if we break right through it, then scenario C would be a real break right through, very strong break, pull back, and then continue higher. I'm looking at that as a less likely scenario. However, you never know. We'll see how we play out. Of course, we want to time it with the news. We want to make sure that we are clear that the news is actually playing out. And then afterwards, once the scenario is played out, we have a clearer picture develop. Always much cleaner, always much easier to see the market with the news, after the news. Either a few hours later, the next day, even easier. So those are the scenarios. Those are the three ideas. If we're looking at this turnaround, well, we will have our validation or stop loss. The idea would be somewhere above. And then we're going to look for the lower prices. Okay, so these are the scenarios on the euro. Let's have a look. Here's the weekly. As you can see, we are very, very bullish at the moment. That is the weekly. Let's go to the next one, which is the euro pound. Now, euro pound going to continue on from last week because the scenario has not changed. We still have clearly bullish momentum in this market. Last week, 2 weeks before, closed bullish. Last week closed bullish, and this week we're going to look to continue on that push to the upside. Continue to head higher. Now, what have we got? Well, we have marked previously our target points already to the left here. If you want to look on the lower time frame to the left, you can see why. We have had the previous weeks all bullish. If I just remove, let me just keep it clean with the candles. We had this reversal down here. We went higher. The next week was bullish, and then expecting this week to be bullish as well, and then head into the next levels. Where are we at the moment? Well, at the beginning of the week, Monday, we are very close to the target, and it's likely that we will reach it and head into that target, and then possibly beyond. Now, remembering the calendar once again, remembering the news, we have euro news, we have pound news, so would not be any surprise to see something happen. And here we are, we marked this level as a possible turnaround for last week, which has happened. We had this price action, a gap, and we headed higher, and now we are continuing on that higher move. So here we are at the beginning. This could have been another possible entry, and we've got a bit of a trend line going here. Either way, what have we got? Well, we've got the low of last week here. Sorry, the last low, I should say, here as the invalidation point. Now we're heading higher. Here's that low. Not looking to break it, to breach it, I should say. And now we're looking to break the last high. Let's just, we can move this to the side. Let's get rid of all of this and all of this. This is now no longer relevant. So that was a reference point previously. Let's just clean up the charts. Clean chart is a clean mind and makes it easier to look at the chart to see the opportunities clearer. Okay, what's the next idea? Well, the next idea would be a break above the last high. And of course, if you've been with me with any length of time, you'll know what I'm going to say. Of course, I'm about to say that we would like to see a break. It'll be a high probability to see a clean break, a nice strong break, pulling back to get a better price, and then continuing to the upside into the next level. That'll be the level of interest, and from here to here we are about 60 pips. Euro pound is a slow mover, so 60 pips is a decent amount, decent range for euro pound to move. Here's that invalidation point. Now, if we breach this low, breach invalidation, we'll reassess. Of course, there's news, and news can take the market any which way. Euro pound is a bit of a funny one, a bit of a choppy one. Don't be surprised to see some choppiness in the pound. First of all, we will need to clear this level. As you can see from where we're at right now, we have a bit of a range, and really a break of that range cleanly would be preferable. So we've got our scenario, we've got our bullishness. I don't see any reason to be bearish here, no reason to sell. So this is the idea, and that is the euro pound. As you can see, continuing higher, higher, and higher. No let up. And we looked at the pound, in fact, from, I believe it was, where was it? I think it was down here, somewhere lower. On the higher time frame when we analyzed it on the monthly. And if you want to look at the monthly, have a look at that, see what it looks like, and you will see perhaps why we looked at the bullishness. But from the daily chart, the weekly chart, it is very clear to see that we are heading higher, created higher highs, higher lows, and these reversal points, these turnarounds. A market moved higher with momentum. You can see there's a lot of momentum to the upside and very brief momentum, very brief retracement, brief pullback. The upside is the dominant force. Okay, moving on now to the CAD yen. Let me remove these previous drawings, which are now unnecessary. And what have we got on the CAD yen? Well, we have a level up here, the 111. We now reversed off it. We have had this ranging market. And what has happened, as we can see at the moment currently, is this previous low was breached by the low down here. If I mark it, you can see it here. So that was broken. And now we pulled higher. We did not breach the last high. And in fact, we made a candle which signified a reversal, engulfing the previous one and in the pin bar fashion. And then we are now, looks like we may be heading to the downside and to reach this low, which we had previously. So that will be the first target for CAD yen to head lower. Let's have a look on the daily. And it seems that we are now today, we've got a really big ranging day. We are only about 60 pips away as of now from this target. How are we going to look at this? Well, here's target 1, we've got target 2 and target 3 over here. How we're going to look at this is, obviously we want to pull back, and there's a bit of a level over here that we can see. The invalidation point would then be this high. last high. What would be great to see would be a pullback and then heading lower to continue the downside. That will be the preference. And then we see what we've got. First target, second and third down here. Looking back on the weekly, we are overall in an uptrend. So this is a kind of a short-term move just for this week, just for now, if we actually get it. Remembering we do have CAD news, so it may be that CAD will spike, the news will run it lower. I don't know how it's going to play out. Nobody really knows. However, for now, we're going to look at this. If you are looking at an opportunity before the news, make sure that you watch the trade or monitor or observe or manage the risk of the trade if you're approaching news. Now, entering well before news is okay, but right on or very close to news is riskier if you don't know what you're doing. And this is why we're going to say that with the CAD news, this is a trade, an idea, a scenario, with the caveat that we do have news approaching, I should say, at the time that we are looking at a possible setup, a possible scenario. Not one of my favorites this week, CAD yen, because we are overall still in an uptrend and we are in a, if you look at the bigger picture here, you could say that this is a range, so heading into the low of the range. And of course, trending markets are much better to trade than ranges. For now, this is the idea on the CAD yen. Let's move on now to the pound Swiss. And pound Swiss is one we looked at last week. Let's just remove the drawings, clean it up. We were looking at a bullish scenario. That did not quite happen. We moved a little bit lower. We ranged. We had this bullish momentum that I was looking at continuing, but such is life, it did not work out. What are we going to do? Reassess and look at what we've got so far and whether the situation has changed. And if it hasn't, we'll continue. And if it has, then we'll scrap it. So why have I picked this one for this week? The reason is because we are still looking good for this bullish idea. Why? The why is because we looked at this level and this level is still holding. And this scenarios, neither scenario that we drew out, which is this break of the last high and a continuation to the upside, that did not work out. And the breach lower and continuation to the upside did not work out either. We're still stuck in this range. And now that we're stuck in this range, we want to wait for the market to play out, for the scenario to play out. And we've got to exercise a bit more patience, ranging, and we just have to wait until the market does its thing. It's either inevitable to really inevitable that it's going to do something. We don't know how, we don't know when, we don't know why quite. Sometimes we can predict, but we don't actually know. We can anticipate, but we don't know. For now, we're going to wait for the same scenario to play out, which is a cheaper price heading through the range. Don't like trading ranges. Through the range, reversing and continuing to the upside, or breaking through this high, pulling back to get a better price, which will be somewhere over here, most likely, getting a better price, and then heading to the upside. Now, still bullish with this break, still bullish on pound Swiss, and we're expecting this to happen. The invalidation will be this low down here. And then right now, what do? Well, we just wait and see. Again, pound news this week, that may be a deciding factor. We will see how the market develops, how the price action and the candles develop, and then we will go from there. Right now, it's neither here nor there. So quite happy to, put my hands under my thighs and wait, not touch the mouse, until the picture becomes clearer and cleaner. Next one on the list is Aussie CAD. Now, why Aussie CAD? Well, we have had this reversal happen. We have now breached multiple structures to the left. You've got one breach here, got another one here, got another one here, looking to the left on all these highs. We had a reversal pattern, so we had a bullishness momentum, brief pullback, and continued bullishness engulfing the previous two candles. That is very bullish indeed. Now, what are we looking at next? Of course, we're looking at the next target's high. Here's the high, and much higher, but that is a bit further into the future. These are the immediate targets that we've got. You could also say that this high is also a target. And now we've got the continuation to the upside, which is the expectation for the week. Let's have a look on the lower time frame. What have we got on the lower time frame? Well, we have a swing that has formed here on this low. So there's the last swing. We've got a break here. The market has broken through. We have now created another swing, this low, and now we're heading higher. What are we looking for? Well, let's look for a zone, an area that we'd be interested in. And this low here, the last low that was made. Let's mark it in. Let's mark it a different color. This will now be the invalidation. So we don't want to see a breach of that. If we do, then we're going to reassess. And what we'd like to see, of course, you know what I'm going to say altogether now. Pull back to get a cheaper price and continue to the upside. That is the expectation for Aussie CAD. We also have a stronger Aussie than we do CAD, and that would make sense that the Aussie CAD is bullish. Okay, here's that swing. Here's the idea. Here's our validation point. Everything's marked out, and now we wait. Of course, we have news on the CAD. We have news on Aussie, which was today, and we'll see how things play out. For now, here's the plan. Watching out for news, managing your risk as always. We always say the same thing, repeat it over and over, and repeat this process until it's lodged firmly in your mind and you are happy and clear and confident in what you're doing. As always, these are just ideas, educational videos. Please do make your own decision and make up your own mind about the trade and take responsibility and manage your risk. Okay, what do we have on Aussie New Zealand? Aussie New Zealand, another one we looked at last week. We had this idea, the market instead pushed higher, did not come to our level, which was down here. We pushed higher, and now let's see whether we go higher still. Very bullish candle, clear to see last week. Let's have a look on the daily. Are we going to get our continuation? Well, this was the idea. It looks like now we have broken through this range, created a new high, broken through the level we expected to break, creating a better price down here, and then moving higher. Let's see whether we have the continuation to the upside. What do we want to see if we want to continue the upside move and confirm the fact that this is really the low? Well, we did have the break, we did have this brief pullback, and now what we want to see is another low formed, another swing low formed, and continuing higher. Now there's two possible scenarios that we're going to look at. First of all, we still have this as the possibility. Secondly, before we get there, if we actually go there, we have our invalidation low here. This last low. The idea would be this level to be held. So something like so. And if we do not hold this level and we invalidate this level down here, then the next idea, the next possibility will be still this low, still down here. Now, the higher probability, how do we stack the probabilities in our favors? Well, the higher probability scenario, this is a bit risky because we are very slowly moving up. We are looking at the uptrend. However, knowing how choppy Aussie New Zealand is and knowing that we actually really want a clear break, I would prefer to have a cleaner setup, and the cleaner setup, or the higher probability I should say, would be a break through this level. So I'm just giving you scenarios, ideas. Will be a break of this level, pulling back, and then continuing higher. Oops, let's just do that again, because that was messy. Let's try that again. A break, pulling back, and then continuing to the upside. So, what to do from here? Well, favored scenario is A. Let's got scenario A here. Got scenario B, which would be the second one, and scenario C, I'll just order them in the least preferable, just right, least preferable, just to be clear. That will be scenario C. So these are the ideas for this week. Again, as always, the clearer picture, the cleaner picture will come later in the week, after news, a little bit more towards Wednesday, Thursday. Typically, that's when the market really begins to move and we have more clarity. If you're not aware, Monday is a lower probability day. The market does not tend to move very much. And yeah, Mondays aren't great. They can be sometimes, but the probabilities are not in your favor. Okay, next, let's have a look at the next one on the list, which is the Nasdaq, US Tech, US NAS 100, whatever you've got on your chart, whatever name you want to give it. We've got clear bullishness developing here. We've got what we can see is these highs, of course, as the next level to look for, which we have almost touched. Just about, almost. Clear bullishness, bullishness, bullishness developing. And now that we have this high, if we want to look at the next highs, we have the next high here to the left. And what are we going to expect? Well, we always want a better price, a cheaper price. And the next obvious level, let's just mark it, is down here, which would mean that this becomes the invalidation point. The last swing. If we get this, if we don't, and instead we reached higher, then reaching higher, we've got a whole number here, which is significant level, 16,000. So there could be a reversal off here. Is that level at the high. Now, what we're going to do is look at two possible scenarios. We know that reversal happens at significant price points. We've got the significant number, whole number here of 16,000. We've got this high. Therefore, the possibility for the market to break through and reverse is possible. That could happen. Or if we do not reach there, we first come down, then this would be the idea. Being in an uptrend would favor the upside scenario, and that would be the better case. However, I'm going to leave the market to do its thing and see a possible idea for a reversal, which would be this. Okay, we've got the level reaching into the levels. We don't really want to be bullish going into these levels because this is when market stalls, it ranges, it's choppy, it's harder to read, and we don't want to be in these scenarios. We want to be in something that's smooth, easy to see, clean, and it's just a smooth trade, a flowing trade. in the flow with the market rather than fighting against it. And just pick those and stay with those high probability scenarios. Either case, those are the two options. Those are two scenarios for the day. If we go below this, it invalidates, and then we're going to reassess and see what happens from there. For now, here are the two ideas. Let's see how it plays out. Quick look on the lower time frame. We've got a range, as you can see. Obviously, with ranges, what do we want? Where we want a break through the range, break out of the range first before making a decision. We don't know if it's going to break to the downside or the upside. We'll just take it as it comes and then go from there. Do really want to see if we're going to continue into the next levels. We'll see not only a clean break, but a momentum move and closing on the daily candles above this range. Yeah, we'll see clarity first. All right, that ends this week. So here is the week. Here's back to the dollar once again. Remember all our scenarios. That was the market outlook. Remembering the calendar, of course. Very important, very, very important to watch for the news. Thank you for joining me. See you in a few days for the market update. You will now be updated on Wednesday and Friday from now on. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next video as the market develops. Watch out for the news tomorrow. We've got a big news day, Tuesday. Watch out for that. See you on the next video, guys.